Hello, hi, and welcome to EmpathicFire. I'm your reader, Jay. These are general messages for Gemini in January 2019. What's up, Gemini? How you guys doing? Hope you guys are doing well. Happy New Year, guys. Hope the beginning of 2019 is going well for you. Hope you guys had a wonderful holiday with your friends and your family. All that good stuff. You might be able to tell, Gemini, I'm a little bit under the weather. I'm actually coming away from a cold, getting out of having a cold. So hopefully this reading will go by pretty smoothly for you. I did Tauruses the other day, and it was a little messy, but I do need to get these done, so this is what we have to deal with. Gemini, while I was shuffling for you, let me tell you something. While I was shuffling for you, when I initially started, there was a certain song playing from the player over there, and I've heard that song many times on this station that I choose, this opera station. I don't know the name of it. I don't know the name of the opera, but the timing of that song and what I was meditating on, there was like a painful feeling that I had. Excuse me. There was this emotional pain that I felt, like a really deep one. So that might be ringing true for some of you right now. As we turn over into the new year, maybe something recently happened, or, coming in dealing with the holidays, maybe it was a little bit traumatic for you, but there was just a lot of, what I felt was like this deep, recessed pain. And then as I continued to meditate and I continued to shuffle to get your cards out here in the spread, I got distracted. I got really, lost, is how I can describe it to you. And the distraction came at the same time that I was being hit with memories from people that I know in my life, but I don't know them. They were I knew of them, they were friends of friends, and I saw things from the MySpace era, pictures I remember seeing online and things like that. So some of you might be in this reminiscing mode right now. You might be going back to your MySpace, back to your live journals or whatnot, or you might be, remembering when you had certain friendships from that time period in your life or something like that. And if that's not a part of your generation, maybe you're thinking of other things. But there's this feeling that I have, and the reason I'm going on this tangent, and the reason your video is obviously now going to be longer, is because I say it in my About page, and it's here in the name of the channel, empathic. I am driven a lot by what I feel from other people, and in general, if I'm connecting with the energy of a Zodiac, that's what I have to go on. So what I'm connecting with, and it won't apply to everyone, of course, there's hundreds of you, thousands of you, millions of Geminis in the world total, so you all can't be feeling the same thing at once, but there is a portion of the population that is going to be masking pain or avoiding pain while simultaneously delving into some past relationships or some past memories that could be good or bad, I don't know, but there is this avoidance I'm feeling from this pain. There was just this very unwelcomed or unappreciated pain that you have that I was told or guided away from. So that's either what you're doing, or that's what my spirit guides did for me to kind of, not have me get to, I hope that makes sense, not have me rear completely off track of what I try to do here, which is just a general reading for a vast group of people. So, yeah, you guys had a little heavy something there in the beginning. What I'm going to do now, let's get into my regular spiel, right? So, if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're not, you know the deal here. That's your main 6-card spread. What I'm going to do now is shuffle for your outcome and your overall energy. Once those cards are out and everything is lying face up, that's when the reading begins. Timestamp for that is in the description box below. You can go ahead and click on it, and you'll jump right to the beginning of the reading. Also down there is the information that you need if you want to get a personal reading with me. I think the information is pretty straightforward, but if you have any questions, feel free to email me at the exact same address. I'll be happy to answer your questions, okay? All right, let's get the outcome for Gemini, January 2019. And again, I apologize, guys, for my voice, and I might have to stop the video a couple of times due to coughing. I try to avoid coughing on camera. I think it's kind of gross. So I apologize. I know I already did, but I couldn't help myself. And of course, if I sneeze or something like that, I'll definitely try to catch that. That's just my own personal housekeeping, I guess. Outcome, January 2019. Ooh, almost. Whoa, this one? That one? Excuse me, this one? Yes, okay. And I flipped it already, so that's interesting. I normally don't flip it, but I did, and I apologize. Boom. Let's see the remaining two. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay. Not too terrible. And I shouldn't even use the word terrible. It is what it is, you know? Alright, in January 2019, where's Gemini? Please show me Gemini in January 2019. Please show me. Here. Thank you. Okay, guys, coming into January, you come in as the Eight of Wands. Okay, so Eight of Wands is traditionally a card about communication, very fast communication, sudden communication, and sometimes communication that doesn't have tact. It's really more lodged in passion, or rooted in passion, and rooted in sort of urgency or needing to speak your piece. And that's kind of here too. There is sort of like this hurried energy. You've got this man. Oh boy, excuse me, hold on a second. Alright, sorry about that, Gemini. I had to clear my nasal passages a little bit there. That was going to be a problem. Anyway, and I'm sure it will come up again. Now, this guy, so yeah, it seems like it could be a little bit hurried. It seems like it could be a little bit frantic. I mean, he's in this field. He seems to be being chased by what looks like mountain lions and foxes and everything like that. And, you know, I would assume, well, it could go either way. With those wands in the air, he could have thrown those, or he could be trying to catch them. But there is this, like I said, frantic energy in this card. So some of you might be feeling that way. You might be feeling a little bit under pressure, or feeling as if you've got, you know, so many irons in the fire, you don't know which way to go. And wands related to fire element, related to the fire signs, is very action oriented. So you guys just might have a lot of things to do with the New Year's, just wrapping up. You know, maybe you're recuperating from holiday travel or holiday events and stuff like that, dealing with family and friends. So there just might be some kind of piecing things back together before you get back to a state of normalcy. But what I feel primarily here is it is about communication. It is primarily about talking or writing messages, receiving messages, and having the communication come out clearly. It would be the design, or would be the hope. But like I said, there's a frantic, frazzled energy here. So I'm actually sensing crossed messages or crossed wires, miscommunication, misunderstandings. I feel as though, Gemini, you might say one thing and you intend it to mean something, or you intend your meaning to be understood, but it won't be. So there's just going to be some missteps in terms of communication. There's going to be some disagreements in terms of communication. There's just a disconnect, I feel, between you and other people. Not particularly one person, but I feel like across the board, there's going to be something missing between you. And when you speak, when you write emails, type in text messages, whatever you're doing, it could be down to grammar, it could be down to syntax and word choices. I don't know, but I think you're in this position where you're going to be readily misunderstood. You're going to be readily people will look at you and they won't know what the hell you're talking about, or they won't understand your meaning. And you are probably like, but it's clear. So for you, it makes sense. And for you've been Ah, okay. Is that it? Okay. So remember how I said something about irons in the fire? So maybe you've got like so many things going on that you're, unbeknownst to yourself, perhaps getting things a little crossed. So you might have something scheduled on Tuesday, you've written it down in your calendar, it's saved in your alerts for Tuesday, but actually in the meeting or whatever you talked to someone, they actually said Thursday, but you somehow put it down as Tuesday. So at some point there was an error made, but to you it seems legit because, well, it's in my diary, it's in my alerts. It popped up, before I went to bed last night. Oh, don't forget you have this meeting on Tuesday, or whatever it is, or this appointment. And so you show up on Tuesday and everybody's like, oh, we're not expecting you until Thursday. And you're like, but I have it written down as Tuesday. So somewhere way back, someplace, there was just an error that occurred that somehow translated to you as truth, or to you as what is to be expected. Now, whose error it was or why it was miscommunicated in the first place, that's regardless. What the point is that I think you're kind of going off of information that you feel is solid, that you feel is true, that you feel is sort of undisputed, or, it's written down, therefore it has to be this. And it's like, well, human error, you can't always account for that, So I think that there's something in that where you've got, and the reason is because you have so many things going on. So you've got a meeting on Tuesday, you have an appointment on Wednesday, you've got another appointment Thursday. So you just have things lined up back to back to back to back. Your schedule is probably very full, or at least your mind is full and your intention is, or your effort is full, And again, it could also be the fallout from the holidays. You've had friends and family in town for the holidays, or you were traveling for the holidays, and now you're getting back to your routine, and you're going to need a little bit more time before you're actually back on your normal track, okay? So your communication might be a little haywire right now. And I really feel, I was about to put that down, but I really feel like, what did I say at the beginning? I was saying in the beginning, for those who maybe skip that part, I was saying in the beginning that there was something about avoidance going on with you, Gemini. There was a block in what I was feeling. There was pain in what I was feeling when I was shuffling for you and I was meditating for you. And so if you want to get into the deep of it, that might be why this is occurring. This miscommunication, this haywire, this crossed wire thing, this frantic energy that you might be feeling, this, you don't really know if you're coming or going. It might be deeply rooted in whatever you're avoiding. If you know in your heart of hearts, if you know in the back of your mind, if there's like a little voice in the back of your head that says, we should think about this, we should stop avoiding that. If you have a little inkling that there's something that you've avoided, or something that has been so needing attention, but you have been busy elsewhere, you've prioritized other things, whatever it is, that's there. And that could be the deep, like I'm talking real deep, like, childhood kind of stuff, or things from your memories. And if you want to get really spiritual with it, maybe something from like a past life or something like that. But there's something pretty big from a previous time in your life, or a previous lifetime, that is causing these little blips. And these can be as little as, like I said, a miscommunication about an appointment date. Or it could be miscommunication in a big way, as far as miscommunication on your job, where, you're costing the company money, or someone else is costing money, or something like that. It could be miscommunication within your family. It could be, this could be arguments too. And again, that's not really the traditional understanding of the Eight of Wands. In the traditional tarot, it's really what I'm feeling for you right now. And so a lot can be happening here with you in the Eight of Wands, Gemini. And I think the deep, super deep, like you might not even be super conscious of it. But in the deep, there's something going on where you have been, or you are, avoiding something, you're not being not that you're not being truthful, you're not being honest, or you're not being open to it. Thank you. Not take away truthful and take away honest and put in open. You're not being open to recognizing that one thing, or that cluster of a thing, that nugget of a thing, is somehow linked, snaking through along a chain, along a pathway, to why you're having these hiccups in your communication right now. Okay? So they wanted me to stop and mention that. So let's go ahead and move on, because I don't know what it is. Like I told you in the beginning, I felt it, and it made me feel a certain way, but I can't really articulate it because I was quickly diverted away from it. So maybe that's it. You know there's something, but you quickly divert away from it. You quickly avoid it. You don't go deep because you don't want to experience more of that uncomfortability. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you. All right, so starting the Eight of Wands. Where are we going next, please? Temperance, thank you. So, yeah. Got the Temperance card of Sagittarius, so there might be a Sagittarius in your midst who is of significance to you, but it does not have to be. Temperance is, I think, advising you, and this card has come out for the previous two signs, Aries, and I'm pretty sure it came out for Aries. I did Aries at the end of December, but I'm pretty sure it came out for them. Anyway, and I know it came out for Taurus, so this might be a theme for many zodiacs this month. But anyway, Temperance, I feel, is encouraging you to get to the essence of what this card and what the energy talks about, which is a healing point, a point of perspective, of having a healed state of mind, a healed heart, a healed emotional standpoint, something like that. And that requires a lot of work, actually. Temperance is about alchemy, right? It's about sort of mixology, if you will, or chemistry, where you have to have the right proportions and the right measurements and the right balance between all things considered, all elements, all factors. And if you don't, it's not to say that you will fail, and it's not to say that you won't get to a point of progress, but it would be more helpful if all of the proportions were correct. So if you were making a cake, let's take it to something simple we can all relate to, right? Because not all of us, especially me, knows anything about chemistry. But let's take it to something like baking a cake. Now, if the recipe calls for 3 cups of flour, but you put in 2.5 cups, or you put in 3.5 cups, you've done more or less than what is needed for the recipe to make a great cake. So if you do less, I don't really know what happens. I guess you don't get as much of a fluffy cake, or maybe the cake will be a little bit more dense. And if you do too much, perhaps the cake will not rise properly or something like that. I don't really know. But you see what I mean? So if you don't have the 3 cups of flour, if it calls for 3 eggs and you put in 2 eggs, or you put in, instead of reading a tablespoon, you read a teaspoon, something like that, the cake just won't come out correctly. It'll still be a cake. It still might be very much edible. Someone might enjoy it. Someone might say, oh, thank you for this cake, or oh, that cake was delicious. But according to the recipe to make blah, blah, blah cake, lemon cake, vanilla cake, whatever, you didn't hit the mark. It will still be a cake. It will be recognized as a cake. It might taste like a cake, but it just won't be as correct, quote unquote, correct, if you had done what you needed to do with the correct proportions, with the correct measurements. So I'm not saying that this is so easy, as in you can just read a recipe on how does Gemini get to healing. Step 1, 2 cups of flour. It's not so simple, but that's sort of the mindset I think you might need to take on, in that, okay, if I have this issue about being overworked or having too many irons in the fire, you might think of, okay, what can I cut back on? What can I delegate to other people? What can I eliminate from my life that won't throw the balance off in other arenas? So if this is a work situation where you wear a lot of different hats in your workplace, or even in your family situation, what can you tell or delegate to another person? What can you ask another person to help you with that won't make your position as the manager, or as this person in the company, or as the father, as the mother, sort of be undermined? It won't allow people to look at you and think, oh, you're not doing your job properly. Well, no, I'm doing my job actually quite efficiently by asking other people to fulfill this duty for me, because it frees me up to do whatever else on the other side. Does that make sense? Where you basically don't have to take all of that pressure onto yourself. You don't have to take all of that responsibility onto yourself. And you have to be open. Like I think we mentioned it up here, right? I feel, Gemini, there's this restrictiveness that you've placed around yourself, whether you know it or not, where I think there is a certain expectation that you've adhered to or somehow put on a mantle. You've got like this idea of who you're supposed to be, and you're trying to match who you're supposed to be. And I'm going to tell you something. You don't have to be anybody that you don't truly feel aligned with. So for some of you, this is about what looks good, what sounds good, what sounds efficient, what you know, if this is about your role as a parent or somehow in a family dynamic, right? If your role is to be a mother, then to you, the criteria of what it means to be a mom is like 10 things long, when in reality, the recipe calls for only 8 of those things. So you're putting in 2 extra things that aren't necessary to fulfill or get to this, not even fulfill, to get to this more healed, stable, balanced, just like all around like it feels anchored, like properly anchored, properly rooted, properly planted, right? And I'm using those words, and I don't want to use those words as qualifiers, properly and correct or anything like that, but that's how it feels. So some of you are doing, honestly, too much. Like I said, if the criteria for what it means to be a great mom or an efficient mother, or however you want to think about it, or boss, or a coworker, or a partner, whatever. If that true recipe only calls for 8 things and you're putting in 10 things, 11 things, you're putting in too much. If it calls for 8 things and you're putting in 5 things, well, you need to step your game up. So what to counter, or not counter, but what's what's linked to your 8 of Wands position is this lack of fully recognizing how to find that balance between what is expected from you, or from your perspective, or what you think other people expect from you. So you're kind of maybe projecting or taking on other people's projections into what they expect of you in whatever role we're talking about. And the actual reality of what works, what is not just efficient, but I'm feeling like a flow. Like what flows, what is comfortable, okay? What is feasible, could be another word, feasible, okay? So you have to really think about how these two are linked, how everything is linked. We're going to talk about everything, how everything is linked, and how to basically adjust it, edit it, trim it down, add to it, whatever. Find the correct balance in your recipe, you know? Some people, going back to like the cake analogy, I feel, I don't watch a lot of baking shows, but when I do watch them, you know, some people say, oh, you should sift the flour for this, and you should whisk the eggs, or, you know, some people say, you know, mix these ingredients together and then add them. Other people are like, just mix them in, it doesn't matter. So whatever works for you, you got to find that route. You got to find that approach. And it has to come with this idea of, it's for my betterment, it's to heal me, it's to give me great clarity and perspective. It's also still going to go back to that deep thing that we were talking about moments ago. I don't know what that is. It's here. I'm honest. The only thing I can tell you is that it's there. It's very present. What it is, what you're supposed to do with it, how you're supposed to combat it, or how you're supposed to approach it, I don't know. But that is a factor here. Like, they're telling me to tell you that it's there, but they are not telling me, they're not going to show me any type of way of, well, what does it mean, or what does it involve, and how am I supposed to? No, just know it's there. And that's for you to discover, that's for you to decide when and where you're going to tackle it. But I'm going to tell you, I'm giving you like this insight into what's going on now in January, but this work extends beyond January. It extends beyond January, okay? Everything that we're talking about, extend it. It's going to carry over for however long, okay? You got a deep reading. You're going to have a deep reading. All right, so Temperance, and now we go, yep, exactly, Hangman, got it. So this is what I think you've been doing, Hangman. And, oh, was that a little blurry? I think it was a little blurry. There we go, a little clear. The Hangman. Interestingly, okay, you've been doing this, and normally that's a good thing. You know, we want the Hangman to kind of be in our lives because he's a good point of reference. He's a good time to really do the checks and balances in your life, right? That's basically what the Hangman represents. Hanging out, not like literally hanging out like on a couch, but like hanging out like in suspension. And while in suspension, while in this moment of reflection or pause, you're able to find insight into yourself. You've been doing that, but not really, is how they're saying it. You've been maybe in a stasis, right? Maybe in a pause, maybe in a lull in your life, Gemini. And it could be, you know, very recently. It could be like for a week or two, like I said, over the holidays. Maybe some of you took vacation time. Like I said, some of you may have been traveling and you've had this lull where you're basically off the normal pattern of your life, which is work life, family life, relationship life, business life, whatever. Your regular routine. And there's been this pause, this extended pause. I'm sensing a week or two, maybe 3 to 4 weeks, right? Recently, very recent. And in that time, you could have gained perspective. You could have done some reflection. You could have really gotten into the nooks and crannies of a situation. But you did not, or you are not, or you will not. And there is just this continued need to get to that place of examining the details, of examining the who's, the what's, the why's, the where's, and all of that stuff to really gain a new perspective, perhaps have conversations with other people. It's right next to that 8 of Wands, so we've got this communication aspect hitting the Hangman. But again, there's something where I feel you're not doing it. You're not taking advantage of this time. You're not taking advantage of the lull, of the pause. You're not utilizing it the way you should. You're really just sitting on your hands, or you think you've done enough of it, perhaps. So, thank you. Again, going to that deep. I'm just going to call it the deep now, right? So the deep. Maybe you've only gone deep, and the deep says, nah, you gotta go deeper than that, okay? So some of you haven't done enough, okay? Some of you haven't even done the deep. You've just done the d part, the d, okay? There is this need to go further, to extend yourself more, to be more open, to be more cohesive, or to find a way to have deeper conversations, deeper perspective or retrospectives on something. But you don't want to, or you haven't given the time to. Some of you haven't given the time to it. Like I said, you've had so many things going on. You've got so many responsibilities or so many obligations that you simply haven't had the time. So you've overextended yourself in terms of scheduling. Trim that back, go to the deep, and then we can get the ball rolling here. So the reason that I like the Hangman in general is because, like I said, he does allow for you to get that perspective. He does allow for you to get that point of reflection. But given what he's surrounded by, it's not working for you. You're not utilizing it. You're not what do you call it? You're not taking up the opportunity, basically. You're not grasping it and some of you aren't taking it seriously. You know, some of you aren't even aware the deep deep is around. You can take this time to address the deep deep. You know, some of you are just like, there is no deep deep. I'm gonna let you know there's a deep deep. And now it's starting to sound silly, but you know what I mean? So, Gemini, boy, you got a heavy reading. And it's not, I don't feel it's deep, excuse me, I don't feel that it's heavy in a way that it's detrimental. It's a heavy reading. But your prospects, let me tell you, and what I'm feeling is your prospects, your future, not tainted, not full of negativity or anything like that. You're still going places. You're still going to progress. You're still going to be successful in whatever ways you want to be successful. You're still going to be contented in the ways that you want to be contented. But I feel you will continue to be in the background of things. There's always going to be this like tugging thing that says, let's deal with this. Let's work on this. Or, oh, we're happy in the moment, but we're not happy in the long run. Thank you. Got it. Moments versus longevity. Okay? That's what's going on here. Momentarily, you're good. In the grand scheme of things, less good. Okay? And what was I saying? Yeah. So I like the Hangman because he does give you that chance to reflect and all that. But given what he's surrounded by, it's just not flowing. You're able to get by in your day-to-day, but in terms of the long game, I don't know. I think you'll continue to look at your life or look at certain aspects of your life, certain situations in your life, and view them as hurdles instead of support or instead of as attributes, you know. I feel a lot of you feel a lot of what's surrounding you right now is a hurdle, is something that is there to trip you up. And it's like, no, it's not there to trip you up. It's actually there to help you. Or these people are actually there to help you. Or this circumstance is actually there to help you grow. But you're looking at it as, no, it's trying to restrict me. There's a weird dichotomy going on with you, okay? Next to the Hangman, you have this Eight of Cups situation going on. And this is sort of what I was talking about before, where the Eight of Cups is about walking away. It's about, I don't like this, or this is dissatisfying, or this is heartbreaking to me, or this is disappointing, and I have to leave, or someone has to leave. And I'm speaking about you, Gemini. I've done a lot of that. Let me go ahead and clarify. It is a general reading. This can go either way. You could be receiving this energy, or you could be, this message could be applying to you, but it applies to someone else in your life. Does that make sense? So it doesn't mean every you is actually you, Gemini. But whoever we're talking about, and I feel it's mostly Geminis, but for a few of you, it's not you. Hope that makes sense. But there's someone who, in a certain way, it's just like, I'm done. Not in a quitting way, but like, I'm done. Like, aren't we done here? Haven't we exhausted this? Haven't we put this to bed? Haven't we solved this issue? And so, as you can see, there's a gentleman there in the foreground, and he's taking his scrolls, and he's walking out the door. And then you have this woman in the back who's holding on to his coattails or holding on to his robe there, crying into it, and basically saying, no, don't go. So there's this aspect of walking away from feeling that a situation is done and dusted, or it's lived past its shelf life, so to speak, and not wanting, or not feeling, not even not wanting, not feeling like there's anything else left to do. Because the cups revolves around emotion, right? We're talking about water sign energy. So emotions, you feel like the situation is done. Feeling and what is logical or what is sort of real or practical is not always the same. So you feel like, I've done what I needed to do. This is over. Let me move on to the next thing. And I'm going to tell you, I'm getting this sense of not so much. Not so much. Because the Hangman is here and he's asking, the Hangman also asks for reevaluation, right? Again, a new perspective. Or having a new insight into something that you feel is already finished. Okay? So this Hangman coming between the Eight of Cups and your Eight of Wands, you have some reevaluation to do. if you choose to. You don't have to do anything you don't want to, right? But I think you would be encouraged to reevaluate a situation where you felt it was over, or you felt as though you could walk away, or you felt as though you've done everything you needed to do. You've seen all the angles, you've seen all the possibilities, and you feel as though your job there is complete. The task is done. The relationship is done. The whatever is finished, right? This card next to that Hangman would say, maybe you missed a couple of details. Maybe you missed a couple of things that needed consideration. On the other side, going back to your communication where you started in the reading, having this idea of, well, I've said what I needed to say, or I made the appointment, I'm booked in on Tuesday, and it's like, go back in your memory, or go back to the conversation, go back to the person and confirm, hey, we said Tuesday, right? And they're like, oh no, I have it down as Thursday. If you just simply go back and you reevaluate, or you go over those details again, you'll see where the miscommunication lies, or you'll see, you'll be able to sort of decrease that frantic, haywire energy if you go back and you reevaluate, or you go back and you reinvestigate, okay? Sorry, hold on a second. Okay, very, very specific message. But for some of you, this is about a marriage or some type of commitment where you're walking away emotionally, or you have walked away emotionally, and you feel fine with that. Not to say that you shouldn't. Emotions, we are often beholden to our emotions, because they oftentimes validate what we think, or vice versa. And I feel, for some of you, the deep is around this. And it doesn't have to be your relationship, by the way. It doesn't have to be your marriage, your commitment. It can be the commitment of someone else. It can be the marriage of someone else. So again, we just talked about the holidays, right? Maybe you got together with your parents. Maybe your parents are divorced. Maybe your parents are having, this rocky thing going on with them. But there's something about a specific romantic relationship, or I guess they're the same thing, a romantic relationship, a romantic commitment, whatever. There's something about an intimacy between two people where one person is like, I've done it, this thing, I feel fine with what's going on, and the other person is a little bit miserable. The other person is crying, perhaps. The other person is like, oh, don't go. And the other person is like, I'm going. So there's a disconnect here in a relationship that you don't have to, but I think you would be encouraged to reevaluate, to address, to look at from a different perspective, and really consider what's going on there. I don't know what the hell that means. It's very general to me, but that's what they want me to say. Because, normally I get, a sense of, oh, it was involving this, or this person feels this way because of that. I'm not feeling it. I just feel there's a disconnect between two people, your relationship or the relationship of someone else, and that needs to be readdressed. That needs to be, not even for the sake of patching it together, or making amends or anything like that, or trying to make it work. Not in that sense of going back and looking at things so that you can reunite or anything. No. But there is some essence of that distance between two people that is filtering into, siphoning into your present state, Gemini. I hope that makes sense. Again, the goal to go and reevaluate, or look back on, or re-examine something in a relationship is not necessarily to make it work, to try and see that, or try to find a way for these two people to be reunited, or to come back to some copacetic point. That's not the goal. The goal is to examine what the hell was going on then, or what the hell is going on now, and understand how it's affecting your present. If this is your parents' relationship, if this is the relationship of a friend of yours, maybe you're witnessing a friend of yours going through this, whoever it is, learn something from it, is basically what I'm getting. Look at it and consider how it makes you feel, or consider what you learned. If this is your parents' relationship, what did you learn about relationship if you watched your parents go through a miserable marriage, or go through a painful divorce, or whatever it is? What did you learn from that psychologically? What did you learn from that subconsciously? How did that affect your attachment style, if you're familiar with attachment styles and things like that? How did that affect your level or willingness or participation in intimate relationships? You know, have you become a guarded person? Have you become a little bit more distant from people because you feel you witnessing your parents have a tumultuous relationship? Did you now feel, well, marriage is a bust, marriage is a sham, I never want to be with anybody ever again, you know, something like that. If you can connect those dots, that might make sense to your present. And I'm not trying to, you know, minimize anything that you've experienced, but it could be something like that, where because of this, it led to boom, 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 boom. You know, and it's just like this sort of connect the dots kind of thing going on here. Now, right beneath that, Three of Swords. So given what I was just talking about, that kind of makes sense for some of you. Three of Swords can talk about heartbreak. I mean, you've got this stump in the shape of a heart with three people stabbing it. So you could have, for some of you, third-party relationships. I don't normally say that. You guys might be familiar. I don't usually hop on that train too quickly. But given that there are actually three people here, three separate people, in this particular card, I'm going to say it. So for some of you, this is involving a third-party situation that relates back to a marriage or a significant commitment, okay? And three people in a two-party situation is one too many, right? So there could have been this aspect of cheating or betrayal, or not even necessarily in the sense of you or your partner or your mom or your dad or anybody stepped out. It doesn't have to be that. Third party can just talk about interception or interference. So that could be the meddling mother-in-law, the meddling father-in-law. That could be the meddling best friend. That could be the meddling brother or sister or whoever. It could be the intrusion of a work colleague or responsibilities at work. It could be the intrusion of behavioral problems or emotional problems. You know, oftentimes third party can also talk about having fixations or obsessions or addictions elsewhere that call your love and your affection to be focused away from your partner and given back to the self, or given to the addiction, given to the obsession, okay? So if it's not a third party thing, if it's not about interlopers or interference or anything like that, the Three of Swords still talks about dissatisfaction, feeling heartbreak, feeling upset, feeling anger or sadness and things like this. And again, I think that if it's not about a third-party situation, I'm going to go back to what I was just talking about. For some of you, you witnessed your parents or some other significant relationship in your life, could be your grandparents or your aunts or your uncles or whoever, and you admired it, but at the same time you learned subconsciously or very consciously that love in an intimate relationship between two people is not easy. It often involves heartache and heartbreak and strife and pain. And you don't want it, so you step away from it. Someone may say, Gemini, I desire you. Gemini, I love you. Gemini, I want to be with you. And you're like, no thank you. No thanks. That ends in heartbreak. That's too much. Too much. Nope, don't want any parts of that. Okay? So for some of you, this is just your not your dissonance, but your that could be what you're avoiding. You're avoiding a loving side of yourself for some of you. Not all of you, but maybe a few of you, right? You're avoiding this. 1 second. Okay, Gemini, sorry about that. I got congested again, and I needed to not be congested anymore. So, what was I saying? Oh, so the Eight of Cups and the Three of Swords, right? So for some of you, I think it could just be your casual observation throughout your life where you've seen people who have been intimate in commitments, in marriages or whatever. And, you know, that comes with a lot of responsibility, that comes with a lot of trouble, that comes with a lot of, you know, arguments and things like that. And you're just like, I don't want any parts of that. So a lot of you are avoidant to becoming intimate and close with other people. Or the way that you are intimate and close with people is very limited. It's kind of capsule it's restricted or constricted in some type of way. And that's fine in general terms, but I think because we were talking earlier about the deep and how there might be a very subterranean level of hurt or trauma or something that you avoid or that you haven't ever considered as affecting your present moment. That could be one of the things. I'm not gonna say that's for everybody because that's a little cliched, and also, again, too limiting to the varied number of people. Many of you have absolutely amazing, loving relationships now, and it has nothing to do with observing other people's relationships, because you, in your marriage, in your commitment, you feel fine, you're happy, you're actually very open and loving. And yours would be something else. It wouldn't be this relationship anchored thing. But for some of you, it is a relationship anchored thing where, you know, your viewing of certain things in your life as hindrances or hurdles or as detractors is not actually a detraction. It's not actually something there to make you stumble, to make you fail. It's actually there to bolster you, but you are not able to recognize it as that. So what that is, again, I'm feeling like it is a general reading, but I can't speak specifically to it because not much has been handed to me. I'm not seeing much, I'm not feeling much, I'm not hearing much, but what I'm getting is somewhere in your past, your childhood, previous life, or even a few years ago. It doesn't even have to go back super far for many of you. There's something where you're just not able to view your situation from a clearer or more healed and balanced perspective. And you would be encouraged to find out why that is, or how you can get to a clear and healed perspective so that you can view things a little differently, is what I feel. There was something else I wanted to say about the Three of Swords before I went off camera, and I don't think I remember. Give me a second. I can't remember. It's okay. That means it wasn't meant to be. I was caught congested in my nose at the right moment because it wasn't necessary, okay? So your final card in your main spread is this Empress card. Now the Empress card, am I going to be... Excuse me, I apologize for all this. I hate hearing that from other people, so I don't want to put it in my video. Now, she's here, Empress card, often associated with Tauruses and Libras, as the Empress is associated with the planet Venus, and Venus is the ruler of both Taurus and Libra. But again, neither of those signs have to be significant in your life. It's really just a little background of what this card is aligned to astrologically. Who is this? Because I feel it's someone, and I don't think it's you. It could be you, but I don't think it is. What I'm getting is like a mother, what I'm getting is like a grandmother, or someone of a maternal capacity. The Empress really is known for fertility, even though this woman doesn't necessarily look super fertile, or what we might idealize as fertility, or someone who is fertile in our society right now. But this card and this energy is aligned to fertility. So some of you could be mothers yourselves, or about to be mothers, or something like that. But there is this nurturing feeling I get from her. And the irony here is I'm talking about, you know, being nurturing and mother-like or motherly and things like that. The actual look of this woman, the actual look of this character, isn't like the nicest. You know, she looks like a wicked stepmother more than anything, in my opinion. So that could be it. Like, maybe, you know, I don't want to make it like all cliched and boiled it down to mommy issues or daddy issues or anything like that, but that could be it. Some of you might have issues with your mothers. Some of you might have issues with a mother-like figure in your life, whether this is a mentor or a great aunt or your grandmother, or even someone who is a mother in your life, like your best friend is a mom, but she's kind of a bitch too. You know, something like that. And I don't want to boil it down to being so simple, but there might be this person who is in your life, in your world, who is meant to be nurturing, who is meant to be someone who cares and is sort of this person that you go to with your troubles and that you look to for great insight and inspiration and guidance. And it's like, again, I think I talked about it here with Temperance. It's true, this person is a mom or is a father, doesn't have to be male, or excuse me, doesn't have to be female, but this person has this nurturing ability, but the methodology might not be so great, okay? So this could be a mom who is kind of tough, kind of rough around the edges, you know what I mean? So this person could very well be your mother, or this could be you as a mom or as a parent, where you do what you're supposed to do. You provide for your children, you feed them, you clothe them, you provide them with a roof over their heads, you make sure that they get their homework done and that they're going and they're getting to their soccer game on time. You're doing all of the things that a parent or a mom or a dad is supposed to do, but you or they might lack that tender love and care that we often attribute to a mother, okay? This person might get the job done, but they do it sort of without that niceness, without that loving energy, you know? So some of you might have grown up with a mother who basically was like, my job, or a father, it doesn't have to be gendered, but you may have grown up with someone who says, it's my job to take care of you. It's my job to provide XYZ to you. I have done those things. And you're like, but I would just like to be told that you love me. Why do I have to tell you that? Isn't it obvious that I love you? I pay for this, I do this, I clean you, I do this, blah, blah, blah. You should know that I love you. Like, some of you may have grown up in a household like that, or you may be dealing with people who have grown up that way, or you might be watching someone raise your niece or your nephew or your cousin, and that's the way that they approach their children, okay? So this Empress energy, like I said, this is very different than the traditional interpretation, because I feel that this woman is very bountiful. I feel that this woman is definitely fertile. But I mean, if you look at her if you look at her face and you look at the context that she's depicted in, look at the background. It's stormy, it's gray, it's cloudy. There's like I guess it's a moon, but maybe it's being eclipsed. It's very dark. And then she's like, I don't know what that's supposed to be. Are those mountains? Are those glaciers? Are those icebergs? Whatever. And then you look at the ground around her. It's very plain. It's very empty. The Empress, if you're familiar with tarot, is usually in a garden. She's surrounded by beautiful, beautiful plants. She's surrounded by animals. She looks very voluptuous. This woman does not look voluptuous. Okay? So, pardon me. Hold on. Alright, guys. Sorry about that. So yeah, this woman doesn't look like super voluptuous. She doesn't look super like alluring or seductive or just like what we might think of as like pleasantly, quote unquote, pleasantly sexual or pleasantly sexual. She's not sexy, basically. You know, she's not like va 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 voom. She's very much like, what do you want? You want to have a good time? You know, like, she's very much about her business, and that's why she's the Empress. The Empress is always about her business. The Empress is always about sort of getting what she wants, and she does so as to continue on her legacy and to make sure that her bit of the empire stays afloat, okay? So again, a mother figure, your mother, your grandmother, a person who you're close to, I don't care who it is this way. I take care of business. I get done what I need to get done. I take care of my kids. I raise my family how I'm supposed to raise them. But there is a lack of kindness or a lack of tenderness with this person. And, you know, there's something as a female myself, I understand, and I've come up against those pressures myself, where there's this expectation that because you're a female, because you're a mom, I'm not a mother, but because you're a female, because you're a mom, because you're this, you're supposed to be these other things. It's like, that's not true. That's not prescriptive. That's not a part of the package. Not all mothers, as much as we would hope, not all mothers are, you know, baking apple pies 5 days a week, tucking you in every night, reading you a bedtime story, you know, kissing your boo-boos. Some mothers are like, oh, you fell, you scraped yourself? Well, go get a Band-Aid out of the cabinet, put it on your leg, and go back outside and play. You know, other mothers are like, oh, my baby, and they go outside and they sweep their kid up in their arms, they take them to the bathroom, they clean up the wound, and like, so, this is the pain, and I know it hurts right now. You know, some moms are like that. Not all moms are the same. So there is this energy of someone is here, they're a nurturer, they're a mentor to you, they're someone that you have learned lessons from, or someone that was here to guide you, to mold you, to help raise you, or to kind of encourage you in some type of way, but they haven't done so with kid gloves on. They've been very much, you know, in some cases an iron fist, okay? Very regimented in some ways. And again, you've got this communication cards of the Eight of Wands coming up next to her, as well as the Temperance card next to her. So there might be a miscommunication with your mother or a mother-like figure, or you as a mom or you as a parent are miscommunicating something with your kids or something with other people. And there is a healing that needs to happen. Note that as well. This Temperance, again, a card of healing, again, a card of balance and trying to find the correct ingredients to make something come out correctly, or make something come out to the best of its capabilities, right? On either side of that, you've got that Three of Swords energy, that heartbreak, that pain. Again, it could be involving a third-party situation, but it's just in general heartache, pain. And then on the other side, you have this sort of kind of less than nice, is how I'm going to say it, less than nice mother type energy or mother-like figure. So on either side, you have to find a correct perspective for their, what did I say earlier here? Right, how I was saying, like, on the list, the criteria of what it means to be a great mom. And I said it before I even looked at that card, so that's interesting, because I think I said to be a mom, right? I said maybe the list is 8 things long. Or cake. I was saying cake, not a mom. I'm sorry. But how I said the cake had to be like 8 things. Or maybe I did say mom. I don't know what I said. Anyway, 8 things, right? And then I said some of you or someone is doing like 5 things. That could be who that is. The five things out of 8. 5 out of 8. I don't know what that is in percentages. I don't think that's a passing grade. I think it's like a barely passing grade, right? It's like 1 above 50, so yeah, it's like a 60, right? 60, I don't know. But anyway, that's this person. Or they have that tendency in them. You know, they haven't done what you or what other people may have thought of is enough. And from their perspective, they're like, I did the basics. I did the foundation of the thing. Just because I didn't ice the cake and I didn't decorate it doesn't mean I didn't make a cake. I made a cake. You know? That's a little wobbly there, but I hope that makes sense to some of you, what I'm trying to say there. Now, your outcome for January, Gemini, you've got the Knight of Wands. Excuse me, fire sign, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, but it doesn't have to be any of those people or any of those signs. But the Knight of Wands talks about steadfast energy, sort of this confident, I can do it, I'm gonna do it, I'm rooted in my endeavor, I'm rooted in my passions, I'm rooted in my goals, in my dreams, and I'm just gonna plow forward. Very determined energy. So that could be your outlook, that could be what you're doing. Often the Knight of Wands is also known as sort of the wham bam thank you ma'am sort of energy. You can apply that to romance, or you could just apply that to me in general in life, where they're not here for the long haul. They don't have continuous plans, or they don't make long-term great partners. And not to say that's you, but this is sort of an energy that you might adhere to or that you might borrow, which is in the moment. I think I said that earlier. Something about in the moment, great. Very, very accomplished in the moment. In the long run, the Knight of Wands would become despondent with his circumstance, and he would become bored with his circumstances, and he would go and he would look for the next best thing, whether that's romantic or not. So there's this energy of, for you Gemini, in the outcome, yes, in the moment, in the day-to-day, good. You could go Monday to Friday and go, I had a good week, this is great. But then the totality, did you have this? Did you have that? Did you feel this? Did you feel that? And you'd be like, no. But on the day-to-day, I felt fine. On the day-to-day, I felt contented. On the day-to-day, I felt accomplished, or I felt as though, some of you might have, and not to make it superficial, but some of you might have a goal, like in terms of your physicality. So some of you might have a step goal. Well, I made, 10,000 steps today. Boom. And you do that Monday to Friday. And you feel really good about that aspect of yourself because that's a goal that you've set, and that's something that you've wanted to do, and you're doing it. But on the other hand, did you, plan your shopping the way that you needed to? No, so you ordered takeout on Thursday night. You know what I mean? Or, okay, you hit your goal as far as your speedometer or whatever, or you went to the gym as you wanted to, or you did whatever you wanted to, but there's something else behind you, or something else that was not tended to. So the Knight of Wands, he's very good at accomplishing what he wants to accomplish, accomplishing what is going to fulfill him in the moment. But as far as what's going to fulfill him in the long term, what's going to sustain him in the long term, he's not the best knight for that, okay? So, and again, he has this go, go, go energy. So he doesn't stay around long enough. He doesn't stick around long enough in order to recognize, hey, you dropped the ball over here. Or, well, you accomplished these 3 things, but then you also neglected to do that and that, So he doesn't really stick around to see the consequences of his actions. That could apply to you, or it could apply to someone else, or it could just apply to what you're energetically going through right now, which is maybe you and other people are in this energy of, for the now, it works, but in the long run, we don't really care, or we're not really recognizing that. Interesting. Excuse me, by the way. Your overall outcome, your overall energy is the Queen of Cups. Let me go ahead and get a better focus on her. There we go. So the Queen of Cups, oh boy. In this particular deck, I'm drawn back to this mother energy, right? Here you go. The Queen of Cups, if you know anything about tarot, how she's normally depicted, she's usually, number one, younger. And she's also usually looking at her cup directly. She's usually very contemplative. Oftentimes she looks very open or very much sort of dreamy. This Queen of Cups is very aware. Oh, come on. This Queen of Cups is super aware. She's not even looking at that cup that's in the foreground, although she could be. But it seems as though she's looking directly at us, right? She's looking directly at the viewer. So there is, like, again, a tender energy that's not necessarily tender. Or there's this capacity for nurture. There's this capacity for love that's sort of not as loving, or not as nice, or not as what I'm feeling is like soft as we would like it to be. So some of you are having that as a theme, obviously, for your reading today. But I feel like some of you are contending this energy. Like you have this I care energy, I love you energy, but you or someone else is just not connecting that way with other people. I love you. Oh, do you? I care about you. Really? You do? I want to take care of you. Well, you sure as hell aren't showing it. Something like that, where your intention or someone else's intention is to be loving, is to be caring, is to show that they want to support and offer tenderness to someone else. But the connection is just missed. The mark is missed. And thank you. For others, is that her hair? Yes, that is her hair. Excuse me, hold on a second. Oof, that was a bad cough. Anyway, for some of you, as I was pointing out her hair, excuse me, not that it's gray, but like I said, she just looks a little older. So I feel for some of you, this is talking about realizing an older woman or an older figure in your life, it doesn't have to be female, but I feel it's a feminine energy, is just not going to change. Some of you might have mothers or aunts or whoever in your life that you want to be close to, that you want to have this loving relationship from, that you just want to embrace and have, sort of fall into their arms and kind of unload your troubles on them, but it's not going to be that way. They are who they are, or you are who you are, and that's the reality of the situation. And it could be linked back to the deep, deep, I don't know. But, you know, it is what it is. You know, not all people on this earth have that capability in them for whatever reason, whatever grand, philosophical, spiritual, esoteric reason there might be. But not everybody who is on this earth as a human being is, quote-unquote, a kind soul. Someone who is open and loving and just squishy and soft. Some of us in this world are very hard, or very brash, or very, you know, sharp, you know, iron fist kind of energy. Some of those people are mothers. Some of those people are daughters. You know, this could be reversal. It could be you as a daughter are not giving this energy back to your mother, whatever it is. And that's okay. You know, we're all made in our ways for whatever reason we're made in our ways. I think, to me, this is not as a tarot reader. This is me as Jay, a person. I think that is what we're meant to do, is to look at how in this world we can have people who are so compassionate, so loving, and then some people who are just really hard and very polar opposite to that energy, not open, not loving, but offer some other qualities into the world that we need, or that kind of balance the entire thing out, right? You know, if you look at the complex work of like a pocket watch, you know, some gears are big, and, you know, you can kind of see their details and you understand their function. Other gears are really small. They're hard to really understand how it all works together, or how they fit into the piece. But in the totality, it makes the watch run. It makes it... God, I hope you understand what I'm saying. All of us have a role in this world. And our roles are sometimes unfairly compared. And I feel personally that as long as you realize what your role is, or what the other person's role is, and how they fit into the grand scheme of things, then you kind of can get to a peaceful place with it. Okay, tarot hat back on. Yeah, that's your reading, man, for January 2019. I hope it made some sense to you. I hope it resonated with you more than anything. If it did, there's a like button down there. You can go ahead and click that. There's also a comment box. I would love to hear from you guys, how it resonated with you, what you might think I was talking about, because your reading is deep, but also I was like barred from knowing a lot about what was going on. So I would love to hear from you guys what you think I was on about. So you can go ahead and leave comments down there too. That would be awesome. Sharing the video is also awesome. And of course, subscribing to my channel is even more awesome than anything. I love to see new subscribers come on. It's amazing. I'm thrilled with every one of you guys who are subscribers. Even those who aren't, I appreciate you coming by. Anyway, I will be back in a few weeks' time. I won't sound like this. I won't be pausing the video or anything like that when I do your February 2019 readings. Until then, guys, I thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.